What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Under the Radar. My name is Brandon Tanguma. I'd like to wish you all a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. If you don't celebrate Christmas, hopefully you had a nice day off. And if you didn't have the day off, as we like to say here on the Bulletcast, make your money boo-boo. So, on today's episode, it's going to be a very special episode, an all NXT episode. So I'm going to go over the latest episode of NXT from last week, sort of the season finale. Yes, there is a episode today, but it's a lot of taped matches. It's not live. I don't assume a lot of storyline activities will take place, but you never know. I will report on them next week, but next week is going to be the all New Japan episode because we have Wrestle Kingdom 14 coming up in just a matter of days. So let's jump right into it. We have the NXT television report from December 18th, 2019, and as always, this show takes place in Orlando, Florida at Full Sail University. The announcers are Mauro Ranallo, Nigel McGuinness, and Beth Phoenix. They jumped right into the action as I predicted. We had Adam Cole and Finn Balor kick off the show for the NXT Championship match, and just as I also predicted, Adam Cole won in 15 minutes and 13 seconds. The reasoning was that Johnny Gargano made his illustrious return after a brief hiatus after Finn Balor beat up old Johnny Wrestling. He made his return. Finn looked all shook and stuff, and then Adam Cole was able to make the comeback for the victory. And I wasn't a huge, I know I predicted this was going to happen, but I wasn't a big fan of it in terms of the execution. You have Johnny Gargano, who's had his issues the past few months, even like this year. It's been an up and down year for Johnny Gargano. He's been the hottest babyface in the business, arguably, and then he's also been a heel, or one of the most hated in the business, one could argue. And Johnny comes out, and Finn and Cole are having a fantastic match. They're Finn, it was kind of predictable that he was going to end up losing because he did get a lot of the offense in throughout the match. But you have Johnny come out, no music, no nothing, just kind of strolls out there. And yes, Finn shouldn't have looked all perplexed and shouldn't have allowed Adam Cole to take advantage of that. But then after the match, after Finn Balor was, through this brutal match, he goes for 15 minutes with Cole. Gargano comes out and just starts walloping him with a chair. And the psychology here is that, Johnny Gargano was trying to give Finn a little piece of its own medicine after what he did to him a few weeks ago. And now he's on the shelf, and now he's healthy again, so he's going to give him a receipt. The thing is, Finn Balor is one of the more popular people in NXT. Yes, he's kind of a heel. He hasn't really done anything too dastardly. Yes, he's, beat up on some babyface and stuff like that, but he's not an MJF or some of those, really hated heels in the business. So, Gargano's already off to a shaky start here. I think you're playing with fire when you have Gargano and Finn. As of this moment, I think people are going to be more apt to cheer Finn because Finn is kind of the bigger star. He's kind of back to his old Bullet Club persona. He's cool. He's Finn Balor. Everybody loves Finn. And then Gargano's going to come out here, and he just kind of beats up on him. Not the most babyface thing. And also, this was something that happened during the match itself, is I just hate what NXT's been doing lately, where they have matches spill out not into the crowd, but there's a spot where somebody will hit a barricade and the barricade will tilt over, and 6 or 7 people in the front row will take a bump, and they're trying to make us think that they're fans, but we all know they're not fans, and especially when you come back 5 minutes later and you still see this one guy just selling, and the barricade's pinned onto his leg and he can't get up. It's come on, if you want to do plants and if you want to do, the wrestlers get into the crowd, I know what it looks like. I watch New Japan, I've gone to indie shows, I've seen a match spill out into the crowd, and the crowd is not going to sell, getting a barricade flung on them for 10 minutes. They're just going to brush it off, and they might be a little shook, which would be understandable, but they're not going to go to the extent that some of these people have. And they've done this, I feel like they've done it at least once a week, the past 3-4 weeks. Yes, the Keith Lee spot looked cool, But it also was one of those things where it's like, okay, that looks super duper fake. And then Finn doing the drop kick on Nicole into the barricade, that looks super duper fake from a standpoint of the crowd. That's one of the qualms I have about NXT at the moment. So overall, I mean, really good match. Gargano comes out and kind of messes it up for everybody. So obviously they're going to go Cole or they're going to go Gargano, Finn down the line, and we have a new logo for the Portland Takeover. It's kind of a lumberjack type theme and has the a chainsaw, kind of the chainsaw lumberjack type feel up there in Portland. So it's going to be. I enjoyed the match. Didn't like the angle afterwards so much with Gargano beating up Finn, but I'm excited to see what they do. And maybe they do a double turn where they turn Finn heel or they turn Finn face and have Gargano be the heel in the situation. Just because I think it's an uphill battle, but I think they could do it. If Finn really delves into this heel persona, I think you could get people to cheer Gargano and boo Finn, but it's going to be really hard for them to do it. But I have faith. Earlier in the day, they showed Rhea Ripley and Shayna Baszler arriving. Shayna Baszler had her two cronies with her. I love this. It's sports-like atmosphere. It's something they do in the NXT on the UFC during the pay-per-view. They'll show the fighters, the main event fighters, and even the mid-card fighters. They'll show them arriving to the building. They'll have their posse with them, and it just makes it feel like a big deal. Just building the anticipation for the main event. The second match on the show was Damian Priest defeating Killian Dane in 14 minutes 17 seconds. They talked about Damian Priest's rib injury, and that was a story throughout the match where Killian Dane trying to work over him, and with him being the bigger guy, it's going to be really hard for Damian to really do those power moves with his injured ribs. But in the end, he was able to get the victory. And I think this shows two things: that they are definitely putting their faith in Damian Priest. I think Priest is a good. I think he's a good act. I think I wasn't a big fan of him coming into NXT because I haven't really seen too much of him as Punishment Martinez in ROH. But I think he's shown some growth. But I think it's more the fact that Killian Dane has had his run in NXT. He's been I think he lost a handicap match to The Miz earlier in the year on their build to WrestleMania with him and Shane McMahon. And I think Damian Priest is the proper person to put over in this match. Say that 5 times fast. But with Killian, he's had his run in NXT. He's done some stuff where he's been very defined down. I think for Damian to get this win, it makes a lot of sense. And also, it seems as though they're putting Priest in kind of a babyface position, which I'm not completely opposed to. I think it's going to be an uphill battle once again. It depends on exactly who they put him up against. But if you put people like Priest, or if you put Priest up against Killian Dane, you put him up against Cameron. I almost said Vic Grimes. Cameron Grimes. If you put him up against kind of those heels, it'll be fine. But if you try to put him against the Undisputed Era, I don't think he's going to get cheered against the Undisputed Era. But we will have to stay tuned to find out. He's still I guess it was a babyface turn, but it wasn't. He was just kind of in the match, and people just chose him. I don't know if they're going to go full-fledged babyface with them, but we will have to stay tuned to find about that. Overall, good, solid match. A lot of good, solid matches on this card, but I think one that was better was Kushida taking on Cameron Grimes. But before that, they announced that the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic will return in 2020, and the teams will be announced next week on the January 1st show. Very excited to see the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic come back. With the tag team division kind of in flux right now, not a whole lot of top tier teams. You have the Undisputed Era, and that's pretty much it. You have some other, the Forgotten Sons are out there, but as I said, I don't think you want to have the Forgotten Sons take on Undisputed Era. So hopefully this is a way to kind of get a new influx of up-and-coming, performance center tag teams. Maybe, as we've seen, you have 2 singles people come together and have them be a tag team. Who knows? But we have Kushida taking on Cameron Grimes. This was this bridged the first hour into the second hour. And in the end, Cameron Grimes gets the victory in 13 minutes and 58 seconds. Good match. But as I said last week, I wasn't a fan of Cameron Grimes losing to Raul Mendoza. This was just one whole kind of circle jerk. You had Kushida beat Cameron Grimes. and then Cameron Grimes loses again to kind of a lower mid-card jobber type. But then in the end, Cameron Grimes gets the victory. So why Ed just kind of magnifies the loss that he had against Raul Mendoza even more. So I just don't understand, kind of going back to that. If you had Cameron Grimes winning this entire time, I think you could have told the story a little bit differently, but the match itself was great. It was, good, high energy. Kushida, kind of trying to go for the hoverboard lock, but in the end, we had Cameron Grimes hit his big double stomp move for the win, taking his hat back. So this whole feud was built over a hat. I could see this feud going on a little bit more, maybe not into Takeover Portland, but I could see it going, throughout January, maybe culminating as a main event on television down the line. We do a tail of the tape for the women's championship match. A lot of people just said, "Woo!" They're both 5'7". I don't know why I said that. I read it off the script. The script. But anyways, once again, very reminiscent of what they do in UFC. Good sports-like atmosphere here from NXT. So now moving on, we have Santana Garrett taking on Io Shirai, and Shirai wins obviously in 4 minutes. Santana Garrett, she had a pretty rough match, I think, a few weeks ago against Tainara. I think that's who she wrestled, but anyways, I think this was a little bit better of a showing here. I think you put more of the you can give credit to Io in this match. I think Santana Garrett had a lot of offense in here, kind of surprisingly amount, but in the end, Io does get the victory, as she should, and Io's been phenomenal since she's turned heel. But I think this is kind of the MO of the podcast today. Is this is an uphill battle. I would love to see them turn Io Shirai babyface. I mean, she practically already is a babyface. Everybody loves her. Just make it official already. Then we had Pete Dunne taking on Travis Banks, another kind of Worlds Collide preview, even though Pete Dunne might be more associated with NXT UK, but now I guess he's officially just regular NXT, so now he's a turncoat. He is fighting for America now. And in the end, Pete Dunne gets the win in about 11 minutes. Another well-done match. Nothing really to complain about, as you would think. Pete Dunne gets the victory. There was a fist bump after the match, a little show of respect, very sports-like feel. So then we get Kathy Kelly catching up with Dakota Kai. She had said that she had 8 staples in her head because of what Mia Yim did to her, suplexing her through the table. But who won in the end? I did. So very heelish thing. I mean, it's the truth. But, the heel who gets their ass beat and, says that, oh, I might have got my ass beat, but who really cares because I won the match. So I'm hoping, and she didn't say that she won the match because she cheated and used the exposed turnbuckle. So I'm hoping that they continue with this, Dakota Kai just kind of winning through nefarious means all the time. We don't really see that a lot in NXT. It's a lot of, as this is one of the reasons why I love NXT, is a lot of the finishes they do are pseudo clean. Like, yes, they might do some distraction finishes here and there, but there's not a lot of cheating involved. So I'd love to see kind of Dakota Kai's gimmick be that she's just the heel that cheats all the time. She just gets away, just, this chicken shit heel, and then she's going to make her way to eventually challenge the champion, and then there's going to be nowhere to hide, and the champion just destroys her. But anyways, who will be the champion that Dakota Kai would face? We will find out right now, because Rhea Ripley takes on Shayna Baszler for the NXT Women's Championship match, and this was your main event of the evening. 20 minutes 49 seconds, and new NXT Women's Champion. Your boy called it. Even though it was foreseen, it was still amazing. Rhea Ripley, your new NXT Women's Champion. Absolutely fantastic match. Shayna Baszler, shout out Shayna Baszler. She had a phenomenal run as champion, and this is what happens when you put emphasis on, a great heel champion. She's a badass. She just completely ran through everybody for an entire year, and nobody could see her be beaten. But then Rhea Ripley comes along, and she seemingly is as tough, as badass as Shayna Baszler is. And Shayna Baszler, to her credit, was selling that she was nervous, that she was kind of scared, that she could see that Rhea Ripley is different than all the other women that she's faced off against. And you can see it in her mannerisms and her, she was kind of scared throughout. She was kind of, a little anxious, a little, trying to not get too deep in, not trying to get into the deep waters just yet. And then, Rhea they go back and forth for a little bit, and then the horsewomen show up. And then they attack Rhea's arm. They put her up against the ring post, hurts her shoulder. And then that's when Shayna starts to get her swagger back. She starts to become the old Shayna Baszler, just kind of talking trash and just beating her up because she's a heel. She's scared when the odds are, even, but then when it's in her favor and she looks like she's about to win, then that's when she gets all cocky. And Shayna puts the Karafuda clutch on Rhea. The ref is going to call it. He raises her arm, and Rhea comes down, almost hits the mat, but she grabs the ref's shirt, and then she does the comeback. She fires up. She puts Shayna Baszler in her submission hold. Shayna's able to get out of that, but then we get a avalanche riptide from the second rope. 1, 2, 3, and new NXT Women's Champion Rhea Ripley wins. Phenomenal. I think Rhea Ripley's selling was great in this match. I think very, underrated seller for that Rhea Ripley is just because she hasn't had to do it because she's been that kind of dominant babyface going into it. So I thought seeing her sell in this manner, really being the babyface in peril, I thought it worked very well. And as I said, shout out Shayna Baszler. I believe this will be her send-off. I think now that she got the title off of her, I wouldn't be shocked if we see her going into the Royal Rumble as a surprise entrant and she wins, and maybe they can tell the story of kind of the Chris Benoit story where Shayna Baszler wins the Women's Championship, and she could either challenge Rhea Ripley or she challenges Becky Lynch. And as I said kind of a few weeks ago during the Survivor Series hype, I could see Shayna Baszler versus Becky Lynch be maybe being the main event of WrestleMania, but I think Becky versus Shayna is definitely a good match at WrestleMania. Overall, fantastic show. I mean, bookended by those two great barn burner of title matches. You knew that was what was going to carry the show, and they definitely delivered with Rhea Ripley getting the win and Shayna Baszler possibly being written off. This is a new era for the women's division. It's been a long time since we've seen a babyface champion, and now it's going to be just kind of the Hulk Hogan formula. Line up those big bad heels for Rhea Ripley to knock down. I mean, they're trying to build up Io Shirai, but she's kind of a babyface. Everyone loves her. I don't know if you want to do Io and Ripley right now. They're building Bianca Belair up. She had a squash match last week, so I think you can go back to that. You have Dakota Kai in the wings. I could see that being a good match for the Portland Takeover. You can kind of build up Dakota Kai a little bit and then knock her back down, and then she can feud with Tegan Nox when Tegan Nox returns. So, overall, great match, great show, and it shows in the ratings. NXT, since this whole Wednesday Night War thing has taken place, NXT, I thought, has been very consistent, and that's kind of what their MO has been for a long time. They don't really get super duper high. They've had great shows. Like, I thought this might have been the best show of the year this far in their run on NXT, on USA. But they don't get very low. Like AEW, I think they've maybe had higher highs, like especially that opening show, you get excited, like, okay, this is a new thing, and then there's some low lows. But I think NXT has kind of stayed constant. I think it has been consistently the better product, and I don't want to put too much weight into what the ratings actually are, but I think maybe people are starting to notice that NXT is a very good show. Continuing on to the NXT talk, I wanted to do my NXT year-end awards for 2019. If you would like to vote on these yourself, you can go to WWE.com and they have them. Just Google NXT year-end awards and it's kind of the first thing that comes up. So I'm just going off what the website says. This is in no particular order. And first off, they have female competitor of the year. We got 6 candidates. We got Io Shirai, Shayna Baszler, Rhea Ripley, Kaylee Ray, Toni Storm, and Bianca Belair. So, NXT UK, it's kind of hard for me to really decipher, how good their years are. So, no knock at Kaylee Ray or Toni Storm. I'm not going to really talk about them all that much. But I do think that the female competitor of the year should go to Shayna Baszler. I just put her over about how great of a year she had, and it just made it all. It just culminated at the end of the year with that match with Rhea Ripley. I mean, I've kind of talked about all these women already in my NXT recap. So, I mean, Io, she's been fantastic. I think kind of starting the year off as a babyface and then turning heel on Candice. I mean, that Candice Io match, the match they had at Takeover, honestly might have been one of my favorite, probably my favorite women's match of the year. And I'm not going to put that in like the same category as some of the Joshi matches or whatever other matches. It's from the women's match I saw this year. I really really enjoy the Io Shirai Candice LeRae match. Then Rhea Ripley, great. I mean, the last few months she's had has been absolutely phenomenal. But it is year-end awards, so I'm kind of taking the entire year into consideration. I just don't think what she did this year, like these last few months, was enough to really put over everything that I thought Shayna did throughout the entire year. Kaylee Ray, what we saw of her in the build to NXT War Games, I thought was great. Toni Storm has been great as well. Bianca Belair, kind of a down year for her, honestly. Like, she had her run, she had her title match, she lost. Last year she was undefeated and she was really built up, and then she just kind of she lost. And she just wasn't really the hot thing right now, so they kind of put her on the back burner. Not burying her, but she just wasn't really in the foreground like she was for a majority of last year. So for female competitor of the year, I got to give it to Shayna Baszler. Not just because she was the champion all year, which is kind of the kayfabe reason to give it to her, but I think she also was a great wrestler throughout as well. So for a male competitor of the year, we got 6 people as well nominated. We have Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, Velveteen Dream, Adam Cole, Walter, and my boy, very strong boy, Tyler Bate. And I mean, this one is also kind of hard to talk about as well. You got Tommaso Ciampa, Goldie, fantastic stuff he did early on. Too bad he got hurt, and he came back. So I mean, he comes back late in the year, kind of similar to Rhea Ripley. So I think it's kind of hard to make him the male competitor of the year. Johnny Gargano, he was there throughout the entire year. I think he is a strong competitor to be considered the male wrestler of the year for NXT. I really enjoyed some of his matches. I mean, we're definitely going to get into some of his matches when we talk about match of the year for NXT. Velveteen Dream, he had a strong year as well. He got hurt. He's been hurt pretty much for a majority, if not all, of the NXT on USA run, which, I mean, not a lot of people are really talking about, but you got Johnny Gargano coming back from injury. Velveteen Dream come back from injury, which that's going to be a big deal when he returns. Haven't really heard anything yet on when he's coming back, but it will be a big deal when Velveteen Dream returns. And then Adam Cole. I think he is my pick for male competitor of the year. I think just what he has done throughout the entire year, the matches. I mean, he was Mr. November, just having all those fantastic matches on SmackDown, Raw, Survivor Series, NXT War Games. I will go with Adam Cole. Walter, as I said, kind of similar to the women. He's been doing good stuff from what I've seen. I saw the takeover from Blackpool. I don't really watch the daily stuff, but what I've seen from him, even what he's done on regular NXT, I thought it has been fantastic. Tyler Bate, I mean, it's Tyler Bate. He's going to have fantastic matches as well. So, out of all of them, I will go with Adam Cole, but I will go with Johnny Gargano as a close second. I could be swayed either way, but I just think what Adam Cole has done on a consistent basis is the reason why I would go with him. Then moving on, we have the overall competitor of the year. So pretty much just kind of both of them combined. So it would have to be between either Adam Cole or Shayna Baszler. I think both of them were fantastic. Shayna Baszler being the champion for pretty much the entire year. Adam Cole being champion for about half the year. But both of them were healthy throughout, had great matches. But I think overall I would have to give it to Adam Cole just because he had better matches. I mean, I thought Shayna Baszler's match with Rhea Ripley in NXT might have been her best match of the year. I mean, I don't really have everything off the in front of me, so I can't really say which match was the best for Shayna Baszler. But I mean, just kind of going off that the Finn Balor match he had on NXT last week, I don't even think that was a top 5 match for Adam Cole this year. So I think just the work he did, both kayfabe wise as being a champion and just the match quality that he's had, Adam Cole would be my NXT overall competitor of the year. So now we're going to move on to the tag team of the year. We got the Undisputed Era, Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish, Red Dragon. We got the Street Profits. We have the Grizzled Young Vets and Andrews Webster from NXT UK. And then we got the Viking War Raider Experience. And honestly, kind of a down year for the tag team division in NXT. Kind of hard to really decipher. As I said, the NXT UK lads, not really gonna comment on them too much, but I will give it to the Undisputed Era. I thought what they've done this year has been fantastic as well. You can put in Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong. Either which way, I think Undisputed Era definitely deserve to win the NXT Tag Team of the Year. Street Profits, I think they also had a very strong year. I think this was the year that they proved that they are more than just kind of a gimmick. At least on NXT. I know what they're doing on Raw is not very good, and it seems as though maybe that Vince McMahon has kind of lost interest with the Street Profits. They're not his new shiny toy anymore. But I do really like the Street Profits. But I honestly could be swayed. But I think just Undisputed Era just being there, constantly delivering good matches, and Street Profits, they've been fantastic as well. But I just think kind of similar to Adam Cole and Shayna Baszler, just kind of the quantity of good matches kind of puts it over the edge for me to give it to Undisputed Era. Then the Viking Warrior Experience, they were there for the early part of the year. They were the champions. And then, they go to get the call-up. So it might be a little recency bias, but I mean, Viking Raiders, I thought they were good in NXT, but I think they've been used as well in WWE, maybe not protected as much, or maybe, they're not living up to their full potential, but I mean, really nobody's living up to their full potential, I would say, on the main roster. So, out of the 3 regular NXT guys, I would give it to Undisputed Era. So then moving on, we have the NXT TakeOver show of the year. We got NXT TakeOver Phoenix, UK TakeOver Blackpool, New York TakeOver 25, Toronto, NXT TakeOver Cardiff, NXT TakeOver War Games. Now, this one is very hard to decipher. I did enjoy the TakeOver shows. I would say that I enjoyed the Blackpool, the first NXT TakeOver show, the UK show, between the two. I mean, I thought both of the matches were absolutely, but that Walter Tyler Bate match from Cardiff, just that match was absolutely insane. So, I think maybe top to bottom, I would go Blackpool was better, but that match between Tyler Bate and Walter was absolutely phenomenal. So now going to the regular NXT shows, Phoenix. I thought Phoenix was a good show as well. TakeOver War Games was a good show, but I think they're kind of that second tier as well. And then I think the 3 leading candidates would be New York, Toronto, or 25. It's kind of hard for me to really, decipher which one I want to pick. I think I'm going to pull up the TakeOver cards right now just so I can kind of see which one I was really feeling. So if we go to the Wikipedia page, we have, if I can click on it without it getting lost. Okay, so we got NXT TakeOver New York. That's the first one we're going to look over. We have the Street Profits winning the tag team titles. That's not for the tag team titles. No. That's just a regular old tag match. So we're not going to talk about that. We got the Viking Warrior Experience defeating Aleister Black and Ricochet for the tag team titles. Velveteen Dream defeating Matt Riddle. Walter defeating Pete Dunne. Shayna Baszler defeating Io Shirai, Bianca Belair, and Kairi Sane. And then Johnny Gargano defeating Adam Cole in a 2 out of 3 falls match. Now, I might be showing my hand a little bit, but I really, really enjoyed that Johnny Gargano Adam Cole match. And I mean, all of these matches, I think were good. but it's kind of hard for me to really remember, every single match and what happened. I think Takeover in New York was a good show. I think I'm gonna pass on it being the show of the year. Now moving on to Takeover 25, we have Keith Lee defeating Kona Reeves, Mia Yim defeating Bianca Belair, Matt Riddle defeating Roderick Strong, which I thought was a really good kind of, pseudo shoot, technical match. We had the Street Profits defeating Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch, Undisputed Era, and the Forgotten Sons in a four-way ladder match, which I thought was fantastic. Velveteen Dream and Tyler Breeze, which was a really good kind of character match for the North American title. Shayna Baszler defeating Io Shirai by submission, and then Adam Cole defeating Johnny Gargano for the singles, in a singles match regular for the NXT Championship. Now, once again, all of those matches were really good. And then moving on to the Toronto show, we had Breezango defeat the Forgotten Sons, Jordan Myles defeating Cameron Grimes. Remember Jordan Myles? I wonder where he went. In the NXT Takeover, or the NXT Breakout Tournament, the Street Profits defeating the Undisputed Era for the tag team titles. Io Shirai defeating Candice LeRae via submission, which I've already said I really enjoyed that match. Velveteen Dream defeating Pete Dunne and Roderick Strong, and then Shayna Baszler defeating Mia Yim, and then Adam Cole defeating Johnny Gargano in a 2 out of 3 falls match. Now, looking back on it, I think I will go with that Takeover Toronto show. I thought that was a fantastic card. The Cole Johnny Gargano match, yes, it was another 2 out of 3 falls match. I don't think it was as good as their first match in New York. I'm going to get into that a little bit later. But I really enjoyed Shayna Baszler, Mia Yim. Velveteen Dream, Pete Dunne, and Roderick Strong was good as well. And as I said, I really, really enjoyed the Io Shirai Candice LeRae match. Street Profits tag team match was fantastic as well. So my vote will go towards NXT Takeover Toronto. Then, speak of the devil, the NXT Match of the Year, a lot, and I mean a lot, of candidates are on this one. We get Tyler Bate versus Walter, WWE United Kingdom Championship match at NXT UK Takeover Cardiff, which I said, absolutely insane match. Loved it, just loved it, loved it, loved it. Then we get Io Shirai versus Shayna Baszler in a cage match on NXT television. That is when Io Shirai turned on Candice LeRae. And following that, we get Candice LeRae versus Io Shirai Takeover Toronto. 3 Stages of Hell, Adam Cole versus Gargano 2 out of 3 falls match at Takeover Toronto. Viking Raiders versus Kyle O'Reilly and Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong in a tag team championship match at Takeover Phoenix. 2 out of 3 falls. Gargano versus Cole at Takeover New York. Ladder match, Street Profits, Forgotten Sons, Oni Lorcan, Danny Burch, and the Undisputed Era. Pete Dunne versus Adam Cole at Survivor Series. Keith Lee versus Dominic Dijakovic on NXT on August 28th. Women's Fatal 4-Way match, Candice LeRae, Bianca Belair, Io, and Mia Yim on September 18th. And finally, the tag team triple threat, Grizzled Young Vets, Mark Andrews, Flash, Morgan Webster, and Gallus for the NXT UK Tag Team Championship matches at TakeOver Cardiff. And my pick would have to be that 2 out of 3 falls match at TakeOver New York. Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole. I was going over the list of our best of matches for the Bulletcast Awards, which you can listen to it tomorrow. Me and Philip will be recording it at 1 o'clock Pacific time. So 2, 3 o'clock Pacific time, that should be going live. So set your calendars and refresh that podcast feed. But I watched that match back a couple of days ago just because I was like, man, I really enjoyed that match. I know I didn't really talk about, Philip has this thing where he says, there's only been a few times where I've had that wrestling high. And I don't really would describe it as like a wrestling high, but I would just feel it. I would just say like just an adrenaline rush of watching a match. And I would say, I've had it a few times. I get it a lot for New Japan matches. NXT matches, I thought I get them as well. And this Gargano Cole match, from what I remember when it happened live, I just thought this was fantastic. I know a lot of people say that a lot of people liked the other matches compared to this one, but I know Gargano gets a lot of flack, as I've kind of talked about on the podcast, but I just think he is so good at selling and just getting the crowd behind him. And just in this match alone, Like, he was not the favorite person going into this match. A majority of people wanted Adam Cole to win. They were booing Gargano during the introductions. But then throughout, Gargano was just selling his ass off, and he's able to get the crowd to turn on him in a positive way. And when he finally gets the victory, the crowd just goes absolutely insane, and it's a babyface victory. I know Cole, everyone loves Cole, but I mean, those matches where Cole would win, like, it's a heel winning, and yes, it's fun and it's a really good match on those other ones, but there's just something about, like, the babyface, especially with Gargano, who's never achieved that dream, just winning it, and in the fantastic match that it was. I love this match. I'm gonna say it right now, for all you people who listen, which is a very small amount to you. This was my match of the year. I picked this in the list. I'll probably talk about it again on the Bullet Cast. For you people on the Under the Radar who listen to this, my loyal listeners, all three of you, or whoever it is. But I just absolutely loved this match. If you haven't seen it, or if it's been a while, if you haven't seen it since it was live, go and check it out. I mean, there's just little things in there that are just great. The storytelling, Gargano doesn't want to take the count-out victory, but then Cole takes the count-out victory. They turn the distraction finish on its head. There was, a lot of kickouts, which I could see people not liking, but I liked it in this one instance where it's like, okay, this is like the super mega match that, they're putting everything out on the table. But then afterwards, you got to kind of reel it in, which I think they have done. So, Cole, Gargano, 2 out of 3 falls, NXT Championship match at Takeover New York. Go and check it out. Check out all these matches. If there's a match or two on here that you haven't seen, I mean, all these matches definitely get my thumbs up. Then we got Rivalry of the Year. Just 3 candidates, or I guess we got more candidates, but just on the little rivalry thing. We get Johnny Gargano, Adam Cole, Candice LeRae, Io Shirai, Rhea Ripley, Shayna Baszler, British Strong Style versus Imperium, and then Velveteen Dream and Roderick Strong. And as I kind of talked about, I think the rivalry of the year has to go to Johnny Gargano and Adam Cole. I said that those were my top 2 people for, male wrestler of the year, and they've had probably the top 2 or 3 matches of the year in at least WWE, especially, in NXT especially, probably even in WWE. In the world, there's a lot of New Japan and other stuff out there that's going to top some of the matches, but I think if you look at like the 3 or 4 matches that they've had this year, fantastic. Great stuff. So, out of all of them, I think that was by far and away the best one. I really enjoyed Candice and Io, the storytelling they did there, with turning on a friend. Rhea and Shayna, I loved the story as well, but it just wasn't that long-term feud that I thought Gargano and Cole was. British Strong Style and Imperium, NXT UK. Can't comment on it too much, but all the guys in there are great. I assume what they're doing on NXT UK is good stuff. And then Velveteen Dream and Roderick Strong. They had some good stuff. I think this is what kind of was able to get Roderick Strong, out of his kind of shell. I think him being in Undisputed Era, just in general, has kind of let Roderick Strong kind of be this character that we've never really seen him be before, and especially with Velveteen Dream, who's an eccentric character in and of his own. He was able to kind of pull out a little bit more from Roderick Strong, which I very much enjoyed. But Rivalry of the Year definitely goes to Gargano and Cole. Then we have the Breakout Star of the Year. A lot of candidates on this one. We got Keith Lee, Dominik Dijakovic, Matt Riddle, Candice LeRae, Damian Priest, Angel Garza, Rhea Ripley, Joe Coffey, and Piper Niven. Now, this one was kind of hard for me to determine, because what could you say determines a breakout star? Matt Riddle was on NXT last year, so with Keith Lee, Dominik Dijakovic was there as well, Candice LeRae, a lot of these people, they didn't debut in NXT this year. Angel Garza and Damian Priest did, so they kind of might be the more, better fit, but you can kind of say they didn't fit the minimum requirement for Rookie of the Year, which is kind of a thing that happens in sports, especially in baseball, where a rookie would get called up end of the year. They only played, 20 games, so it doesn't technically count as their rookie year, but then the next year when they play a whole 162, then that's when it counts towards their rookie year. But I think out of all of them, I've been singing her praise this entire podcast. I think I got to go with Rhea Ripley. It was kind of short. It was, kind of one of those rookie years where, yes, she didn't play the whole year, but when she did play, it was just, hot fire. And I thought what she did, I mean, going back to the Mae Young Classic, if you listen to some of my stuff, I talked about her. I said, like, okay, she could be a star. She has the size, she has the look. I didn't think she could really put it all together and kind of be this. I don't. I'm not saying she's like a superstar, but I kind of haven't felt this way, like in general, about like a wrestler, like not just a female wrestler, but kind of a wrestler in general since Becky Lynch. Like she's given me a lot of Becky Lynch vibes when she was starting to get over at the end of 2018. Like she just kind of has this swagger and demeanor to her that I think is just really cool and just really gets over with the crowd. So overall, I think Rhea Ripley, I think is the my breakout star of the year. I think she's just done fantastic work, and she's only been really on NXT for a few months. And I mean, you can also put into what she did in NXT UK, like being the champion, having her match with Tony Storm, like that stuff was great as well. But I think just kind of putting it in a bubble of just regular NXT, I thought what she did was maybe the best out of all of them. Like, yes, Matt Riddle, Keith Lee, Dijakovic, even Angel Garza, what he did with Leo Rush. Maybe, like, the matches have been a little bit better, but I just think what Rhea Ripley has done in the past few months kind of has had the bigger impact than the others on this list. Candice, I love Candice. I think you can, she can, if Rhea gets called up or something happens where Rhea turns heel, like, that's another thing, is like, Rhea, we love her as a babyface, but I also think she has so much upside as a heel as well. Just her being like so much bigger than all the other women, especially like if you turn, if you do a double turn with Rhea and Io, that could just be amazing. Like my mind is just racing just thinking about the possibilities. If you can you do a double turn like heading into SummerSlam. But if Rhea is still hot and everyone just loves her, don't turn her. You don't turn a hot baby face until they're kind of dwindling a little bit, but they're still very popular. You don't turn them. You don't turn Stone Cold in 1998. You turn them in 2001, where you can kind of see that there's kind of a little bit of diminishing values, but that's a whole other subject for a whole another day. And then we have, I believe this is the last match or the last one of the awards. We get the NXT Future Star of the year. So we have a lot of participants in this one as well. We get Cameron Grimes, Kushida, Isaiah Swerve Scott, Tegan Knox, Dakota Kai, Xia Li, Ty Nara, Bronson Reed, and I'm going to butcher this name. I've seen him. He's on NXT UK. I'm just going to say Dragunov. Not going to try to pronounce his first name, but a lot of good candidates. I don't know exactly what criteria would be set for future star of NXT. I assume this kind of means someone who, kind of like what I said, where they haven't really, made the minimum for rookie of the year, but maybe like prospect of the year. I think that's kind of like what I could see. So if we're going to go like prospect of the year, I keep putting him over so much. I guess I have to pick him. I'll go with Cameron Grimes. I've loved what I've seen of him so far. I think he's kind of undersized. He's kind of a different character, but I think that could work in NXT. I could see him just kind of being, no pun intended, but kind of like that grimy, no good heel. But he can also be like the everyman babyface, which he's played kind of both roles on his tenure on the indie scene. So I will go with Cameron Grimes. Kushida, I have been impressed, honestly, with what NXT has done with Kushida. I thought I just didn't really see the fit with him. Like, he doesn't speak that good of English. His wrestling has kind of diminished because he's kind of in his later years. I almost thought it was going to be like Nakamura in WWE, not even NXT, but like Nakamura in WWE, where it's like, okay, like he's kind of coasting on his values. He has a kind of big name from Japan. He's just kind of going to come over here, get his money, and not do that much stuff. But to his and NXT's credit, I think they have used Kushida pretty much like as well as I think they could have. I don't think you're gonna have Kushida be the NXT champion, but you can have him be a North American champion, just kind of like the kind of babyface gatekeeper. So I think they've done a good job. Swerve Scott, I am in love with him. I think he is fantastic. I think they haven't used him enough We saw a video package on him last week, so hopefully they can use him going forward into 2020. I think he's a good baby face as well. If they really want to build this cruiserweight division, like if they do want to make it something, I could see, with Angel Garza being the champ, you could put Kushida in there, Swerve Scott, Cameron Grimes. You could put a lot of these guys in there, but the thing is, like, Adam Cole can honestly be in the cruiserweight division. Finn Balor could be in the cruiserweight division. Johnny Gargano could be in the cruiserweight division. Like, your main event guys are kind of all the same size as kind of these guys you can see as being cruiserweights. So I don't think you want to. I don't think you're going to put them in the cruiserweight division. I could see Kushida because Kushida is kind of smaller, but I could see Swerve Scott being a big deal. I think maybe out of all three of them that I just talked about, I honestly could see Swerve Scott kind of catapulting and kind of getting over the most out of all of them. But Tegan Nox, I think she's been really good as well. She came back from the knee injury, and she already has a ready-made storyline with Dakota Kai. So I think that would be good stuff as well. Speaking of Dakota Kai, there she is. She's another candidate for future star of the NXT. She's good. I think she will definitely have some upside being a heel. She's impressed me thus far. I think she's maybe done a better job at Bayley's gimmick than Bayley has, because she was such the fun-loving, good girl, and now she's just a heel. I enjoy it. Xia Li and Tainara, they're kind of two in the same. They're good. They're okay. I mean, I don't really know. Like, Tainara, we've seen her like on TV so much, and I haven't felt like she's improved at all. And then Xia Li, like, she has the martial arts background. Yes, they probably want to use her to get into the China market, but like, neither one of them have really impressed me thus far. Like, they've put some time and effort into them. Like, they've had squash matches. They haven't really, done that next step to maybe they have a feud with Dakota Kai or something. Like, if you're gonna, I don't know when they're gonna have Tegan Nox come in to NXT or make her return, but if you have Dakota Kai take on Xia Li or Tegan or Tainara as kind of a placeholder for 2 or 3 weeks until Tegan Nox comes back, that could work. But Bronson Reed, he's good. I was never like super sold on him in the Breakout Star tournament, and Dragunov, I haven't really seen much of him in NXT, but I did see him in the Takeover match. I thought he was good, so hopefully those two are future stars as well. So, after that long diatribe, geez, almost 50 minutes talking about NXT, but it was a whole lot of fun spending my Christmas here with all you lovely people. Hope y'all enjoyed, and yeah, make sure to tune in tomorrow or today. If you're listening to this on the 26th, we got the Bulletcast 2019 year-end awards. Me and Philip gonna sit down, go over all the different categories, talk about who I picked, who Philip picked, who did you guys pick? Who knows? But thank y'all very much. Hope you're all having a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Stay safe out there. Happy New Year's. I will be back next week for my full comprehensive Wrestle Kingdom preview. And until next time, goodbye and good night. Bye-bye.